And none of the
Was
Sodom men took the girls.
well, yeah, because they wanted the men.
So that you're saying they were
That
that
was the point.
gay,
Yeah,
or do you think
that's
Lot's kid,
exactly what
or
I'm
do you
saying.
think Lot's like girls were just that ugly?
Who's to say?
In three, two, one.
Holy mackerel, yo!
I tell you what, bro.
Getting ready for
We should
this
have
one for
started this an
two
hour and a half
hours.
ago going through microphone problems. Being a podcaster is an ordeal. We did,
Eesh.
yes. And what's one of the Lord's main messages in the whole Bible?
Don't start a podcast.
Yes, something like that. And learn some patience. You know, the patience for this electronics crap is low. Anyway,
Get off my lawn. I want to go
yes.
back to those days.
Genesis chapter 20 is where we're at, babe.
We are. Of
We are. Do you remember what Genesis chapter 19 was about?
course I do.
Would you like to run a recap for me? Or do you want me to?
Basically, I got it. Don't worry about it.
Ah, sick, sick. Go for it.
Uh, basically, Lot and his wife and his daughters were
The
um
daughters.
the only four people saved from Sodom. And then Lot's wife was like, and then turned to salt. Um, was this the chapter where he also? Okay, yeah. So this was a chapter where Lot also offers his daughters, and then he's like, no, no, no. But that's like a custom here in Sodom. Um, and then we get to where, okay, yeah, he went to the land of Zor, which, what did we say that stood for something?
Zoar?
Yeah.
I think it said it like the line before they mentioned it. Um, that was at the very end of the second bit, right? Right before the Lord
Yeah.
started smiting Sodom.
Yeah.
I think this meant like small city, right? Because Sodom was like, "Oh, you want me to go to the mountains?" And they're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I don't really want to go there. It seems dangerous." And they're like, "All right, you can go to the city then." And he's like, "Yeah, because
Oh
it's just a
yeah.
small city." And they're like, "Yeah, go to the small city," and that's what Zor means. It means small city.
Yeah. And then his daughters like laid with him and we got all into that so they can continue his bloodline. And then that's where we ended.
Yeah, they were just hanging out in some cave outside Zor, and or Zoar, I don't know. And yeah, he got incested. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then like the main theme of this chapter was along the lines of be faithful to the Lord and he will be faithful to you. Lot was in Sodom not being a great person and then continually not being a great person, but he's still a servant of the Lord, showing through his acts here. Um, Still Old Testament, you're judged by your acts, not in your faith in Jesus Christ because he hasn't come yet. So it's
Right.
he treated the angels well. The angels have dirty feet, cleaned the feet, fed them. Like you said, he put his daughters out. I mean, it's either the whole like they said like the city of Sodom was at Lot's door trying to get these angels, and Lot's like, "Here, have my prepubescent girls," and none of the
Was
Sodom men took the girls.
well yeah, because they wanted the men.
So that you're saying they were
That
that
was the point.
gay,
Yeah,
or do you think
that's
Lot's kid,
exactly what
or
I'm
do you
saying.
think Lot's like girls were just that ugly?
Who's to say?
I don't know. I think we have to look to the Bible for the context clues. I was thinking about this a little
Rotten.
earlier. Yeah, because like let's see. So the two angels show up at Sodom, and Lot's right there, bowed himself. He said, "My lords, please turn into your servant's house, spend the night, wash your feet, and then go on your way." And they said, "No, we'll spend the night out somewhere else." And it says, but Lot insisted strongly that they come with him and enter his house. Then he made a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. So Lot's actions here are telling me he's one of those guys. It's like, come on, we got to put some meat on them bones. Eat up, come on. His daughters are probably some heifers. Sodom, the men of Sodom ain't having that.
They're
Gluttony.
committing Sodom.
Exactly.
Nowhere they're gluttony.
Sodom's a sinful city. Gluttony was part of it, No respect. No respect for the resources. So there were probably some heifers, and even the Sodomites didn't even want his daughters.
But they were raging homosexuals.
Yes. Indeed. That must have been it. His daughters were butch, but not butch enough. Devolving already. Anyway, yes. So 19 was a swirl of just roughness. And there are some good lessons in there. Don't incest and be faithful to the Lord, right? Put them on priority. So, the cool part about this one was the Lord did one of his miraculous acts of grandness, right? Oh, well, the angels made the people blind, but this is where the Lord smites down Sodom and Gomorrah with fire and brimstone from the heavens. And I wanted to do a little recap on that, a little summary, if you will. Ready? Watch this. Pow! You can't even see it. You can't even see it.
I really wanted to see it.
And I popped it up on the wrong slide too, so people were getting a little preamble.
I'm sure it looks great.
Oh, dang. I really should have thought this one through. Oh, I'm not going to be able to share it with you, but you're going to have to just take my word that it looks pretty good. All right.
I believe it.
There's some pictures and stuff. All right. So we're going to talk about the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah and whether it's history or just legend, right? Is this story in the Bible just to give us some moral quandaries to consider, or is it actually historically fact and validates the word of God, right? Because we're commanded to defend the word as truth. 1 Peter 3:15 tells us always be prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you. So you have to be able to defend your faith. And ultimately, any kind of apologetics like this, going into did that stuff actually happen, isn't a strong testimony, right? It's should I put my faith in Jesus Christ because we found evidence that Sodom and Gomorrah was actually destroyed by fire? I mean, it's not very convicting, I don't think. But if someone's like, oh, you just worship that old book full of legend, then you should be able to refute that with, no, this is actually historically accurate, and the Bible is a historical document. It records past events, and we verified it. Which goes into what I have on the slide here that you can't see. I'm going to work on that the next time I have to do something like this. But basically, if someone tries to say the Bible is legend, there's a few definitions there are of legend, but in a lump sum, it's a traditional story typically told orally, used to explain origin stories or convey some kind of societal narrative. So in turn, push morals on a population through some kind of cute story. And they can contain elements of truth, however, they're just not verifiable. So an example of this is in the Greek days, the demigod Perseus slaying Medusa. That was a story that started coming around. In their time, there is no written history of it. There's 30 different versions of the Perseus killing Medusa story because from town to town it got kind of ridiculous. But the purpose of that was really oh, this guy Perseus was told by his king to go kill Medusa, and it was supposed to be some insurmountable task. So Perseus gets told by the king to go kill this Gorgon that turns people to stone, and the king thought Perseus was just going to die, so he could just take his mom as the king could take his mom as the wife. But that's not what happened. Perseus goes, slays Medusa, and then underdog story comes back, uses Medusa's head to turn the king to stone. Rah, rah, rah. That's a legend. There's nothing that proves any of that ever happening, and it's just there to kind of, be an entertaining story to give people hope, right? History, on the other hand, is recorded documentation of the past. It's verifiable, but that is I wonder if I can put you on FaceTime real quick because it's kind of bothering me that you can't see it.
I'm imagining it in my head.
Yeah, it's not that cool. It's a PowerPoint with some words on it, but encapsulating your
Listening to
attention
you.
is difficult.
I'm listening. I'm captivated.
She is
Better
captivated.
believe it.
We are going to mute this. And if you want to,
Oh, my phone is like dying now.
okay, never mind then.
Okay.
This is great radio right now. I guess
I
people
love good
listening can't
old
really see it
fashioned.
either. But I'm going to keep talking. So yeah, history
You're
is
on your phone. Don't look.
recorded and documented instances of the past, but this contains biases, and it's pretty well known, right? Even historians agree. History is written with bias. Whoever won the war is the one writing about it, right? Only the winners write the history, so it's pretty apparent. Example I've got of this is the U.S. Civil War. That's one of those instances where both sides actually got to write history books. You got the Southern history books that say the Civil War was a war of northern aggression. And dang old Yankees came down here trying to tell us states what to do. And the North books say, nope, this was a war of human rights. And we were just trying to free the slaves. Now, which side of that is true?
Who who was better off in the end? Oh, you know what? No, because the South lost. No, the North won because in the end we're
That's a
all just one
discussion
big
for another
North.
day because I'm not
Okay.
uncanning that pile of racial worms. But both sides were pretty racist. Freaking clapper. I laugh sometimes when my clapper goes off.
It was bad.
You know, it was that distinct of a laugh. But yes, both sides are true, but they're both biased, right? Because they both say the war started in 1860 something, ended in 1860 something. This many people died. They're both accurate and both true, but the perspective of which they're written is different. So, historical fact has bias built into it. That's part of it. With that taken into consideration, we're going to jump into a Christian perspective of truth, going into this history versus legend thing to help us plot our point. So, the back understanding of the Bible that we have is the Lord's omniscient, He's all knowing, omnipotent, He's all powerful, and benevolent, all loving, all good, all just, all kind of encompassing. So He's all knowing, all powerful, all loving, right? Based understanding of what we know our God to be. So, through deductive reasoning, if the Lord created all things, knowing all that is to come, right, because He's all knowing and all powerful, all of His actions after that creation should be in accordance with His creation because He knew it was going to happen, right? So in the beginning, God, right, Genesis 1, should have accounted for the actions He had to make at Sodom and Gomorrah. So, by that understanding, when God created everything in the universe, writing the laws of nature, laws of physics, etc., there should be some kind of clause built into those, right, that exist in the laws of nature to allow the events of Sodom and Gomorrah to happen. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it can't just be some act of God that can't be quantified or qualified as something that could ever happen again. It has to be built into like how we perceive the universe and the laws of nature and physics to work.
So, since like Sodom was like really like the fibers of them were just like sin. So in the beginning, like Adam and Eve, like they did have the free will to go and eat from the one tree they weren't supposed to, which those acts is what would lead to Sodom and Gomorrah because ultimately, like they did choose to eat it. Sinned, bam, earth,
Oh yeah,
out
that's
of the
when
garden, bam, other
that
things.
instance is when sin entered the world, and from the focal point of sin, everything kind of spread out, and then Sodom and Gomorrah is within that, right? So, yeah, but do you follow me? Like, God's actions, he can't just make something that's not physically possible happen, because
Yeah,
he
yeah,
made
yeah.
everything that's physically possible. So it'd be an oversight on his part to like go back and be like, yeah, I set the laws of physics to be one thing, but Sodom and Gomorrah popped up, so now I gotta like override all that and make something new
Yeah.
happen. So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
has to abide by the laws that he created. Some people don't agree with me on this, but this is my perspective. So we're going to look into the text analysis. So you've got your Bible in front of you. We're looking at verse 24 of Genesis 19. This is where it says, "Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of the heaven." So this is clear. This is an act of God. It says, "Then the Lord rained," and then it said, "from the Lord out of heaven." So this is God did this, not the two angels that he sent. Even though the angels said, "We came to destroy," the angels are on team God, so that's kind of what that means. God made this happen. So when you read this verse, it has to literally mean brimstone and fire came out of the sky. There is no other really way to look at that. The Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire out of heaven. Came out of the sky into Sodom and Gomorrah. So assuming that, brimstone means sulfur, which in some texts of the same time period use it to describe the smell of lightning, but it's kind of like hand in hand. Sulfur is sulfur. Fire, burning sulfur was coming out of the sky. Now, how could this happen? And that's what we're going to look into. But next, verse 25, continuing that, it says, "And he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities, and which grew upon the ground." So this meaning the cities, the plain, all the people, and everything that grew on the ground were destroyed in this burning sulfur from the sky. So that's the claim of the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we make sense and verify this with what we know the world to exist as and what evidence we have? Well, we need to look at the scripture and any other documentation of the time period of where Sodom and Gomorrah was really located. The Bible tells us in Genesis 13, when Lot went there, that it was a well-watered plain called a kicker. A kicker is a big round plain, so it's got to be like a roundish plain. It's well-watered. It's got to be east of Bethel and Ai, because when they were in Bethel and Ai and Lot decided to leave, he said, "I'm going east." It's got to line up with that. Also said in Genesis 14 that the king of Sodom and Gomorrah fought in the valley of Siddim, which is full of asphalt. So it also has to be close enough to Sodom, or blah, blah, blah. Sodom has to be close enough to the valley of Siddim for that to make sense, right? So the way this is verified, we got to look through all the archaeological discoveries that they've found in that area, verify any kind of consistency with the Bible claims, right? So everything we just mentioned that happened, it has to make sense of it. So it needs to be evidence of sulfur, fire destroying cities. There's got to be dead bodies. There's got to be, and it's all got to be like carbon dated to around that time period where we expected. Not getting too into it, but if you do the genealogy back from what we have now, it puts it around 1845 BC is when that should have happened. So, what evidence do we have? Well, people smarter than me have already looked into it. And I spent a good couple days going through it. There's some speculations of it being in the south of the Dead Sea. They're not as reliable, I don't think. There is some evidence of ash and sulfur spots south of the Dead Sea. They also have spots of the bitumen and asphalt pits, like it had mentioned, but not as distinctly as north of the Red Sea. Now, right now, I've got a nice map on there that you can't see, but north of the Dead Sea, there's a site called Tel El Hammam. This location fits the location described in the Bible fairly well, I think. It's east of Bethel and Ai. It's well watered because it's right there by the Nile and the Nile like offshoot rivers. And then it's across from a round plain, the kicker, like I was mentioning, which has asphalt pits down at the south of it by the Dead Sea. So, what pointed them towards this site was that evidence geographically, and then they had also found remains of a city there when they excavated it. This has been several years since they did this, but they found vast amounts of ash, traces of sulfur, blown apart structures with scorched foundations, pottery that was melted into glass. However, there's a slight issue with the dating that they have. So they have all this evidence, and then geographically it lines up, but the dates are argued. When they carbon date it, it comes back to like 1750 to 1650 BC, which I just said Sodom should have been destroyed 1850, right? So this is after when it should have been destroyed. So it doesn't quite line up in that sense. However, the archaeological dig, when they do that, you're digging from the top down, you can see layers of inhabitants, like when we're people in that area. So like you see, a bunch of crap that was under the ground, and then like as you go deeper, there's nothing, and then there's Sodom. So after the layer of like destruction, there was nobody there for a few hundred years, 300 to 400 years, which is important. I don't know. I put that source in that slide, but because the main hypothesis on why we think this could have actually happened is a cosmic airburst raining down from the sky. Now, that does sound just as ridiculous as the Bible claims, but this has happened in people's lifetimes. So, in 2013, in Russia, there was a cosmic airburst that happened. It injured over 1,000 people, and I think a few people died. It was on the news, and I've got the picture of like some guy was driving down the highway. You see a meteor coming down, splitting apart. It's insane. It's a relatively small one. But in 1908, there's an event called Tunguska. If you want to Google it on your end real quick, I'd recommend it. Tunguska in 1908. It was a massive meteor that came down. And same thing, it was an airburst, exploded, I think it was a few kilometers above the ground level. So it scattered pretty far and wide once that happened. Raining down just superheated pieces of meteor over a very large area. Forbes wrote an article up on it in 2018. It says the evidence paints a picture of an event similar to Tunguska in 1908, in which a fireball in the sky was followed by an explosion, and a large swath of Siberian forest was found leveled. So, and this is Forbes talking about evidence towards Sodom and Gomorrah at Tel El Hammam. Coming up on the screen now, we've got some pictures. Yeah, some interesting pictures. The Tunguska, the Tunguska incident left the region barren until fairly recently, which is consistent with the findings at Tel El Hammam. So at Tel El Hammam, like I said, they found all of the ash and burnt like foundations, and the pottery turned to glass, and they even found like salts from the sea that was like super crystallized that only happen under like intense heat. And then nothing was there for like a few hundred years because the ground would have been just decimated, and there wouldn't have been like any possible way to do any kind of agriculture or building. At Tunguska, that happened in 1908. There's a picture on there now where the entire forest is cleared in a giant radius, and there's just grass growing 100 years later.
Yeah, I saw that picture on Google.
Yeah, and then up on the slide right now, I've got a picture of the radius of Tunguska, the same size blast radius of that guy, laid over the map in Israel. So where Tel El Hammam is. And it lines up really good with the description of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Because the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed both cities, the plain, and then all of the ground there. So that's consistent. So realistically, this could have happened because something like Tunguska. There could have been a meteor strike that rained down from the heavens, sulfur and fire, destroying everything.
That seems more likely than just like straight up just fire.
Yeah, right? Because, yeah, if you just look at the biblical text, God made, sulfur and fire come from the sky. It sounds like some kind of miraculous, like, act of God, which it is, but we can relate it to, like, actual incidents that happened and say this is a realistic event that does happen. So,
Mm.
historically verifiable, for sure, not just a legend.
Hmm. Interesting.
Interesting. Oh, that's the response I'm looking for. Yeah. Anyway, back
You did a
to.
lot of studying
All right, so we're back at it. Anyway,
there.
Genesis chapter 20. Would you like to kick us off after we just, wrecked chapter 19?
Yeah.
Okay. We're recapped
Thank
up and we're ready to jump into 20.
you. You did a very great job, by the way.
Thanks, babe. 25 minutes in, we're just starting.
This one's got a mouse on him, you know. Okay, chapter 20. Um. Okay. And Abraham journeyed from there to the south and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur, and stayed in Gerar. Now Abraham said of Sarah his wife, she is my sister. And Abimelech king of Gerar sent and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, Indeed, you are a dead man, because the woman whom you have taken, for she is a man's wife. But Abimelech had not come near her. I'm sorry, I don't know why my brain's like mixing up all these words. Okay.
Abimelech.
And he said, Lord, will you slay a righteous nation also? Did he not say to me, She is my sister? And she, even she herself said, He is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and innocence of my hands I have done this. And God said to him in a dream, Yes, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart, for I also withheld you from sinning against me. Therefore I did not let you touch her. Now therefore restore the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you shall live. But if you do not restore her, know that you shall surely die, you and all who are yours. So Abimelech rose early in the morning, called all his servants, and told all these things in their hearing. And the men were very much afraid. And Abimelech called Abraham, and said to him, What have you done to us? How have I offended you, that you have brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? You you have done deeds to me that ought not to be done. Then Abimelech said to Abraham, What did you have in view, that you have done this thing? And Abraham said, Because I thought, surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will kill me on account of my wife. But indeed she is truly my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. She became my wife, and it came to pass when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said to her, This is your kindness that you should do for me. In every place wherever we go, say of me, He is my brother. Then Abimelech took sheep, oxen, and male and female servants, and gave them to Abraham, and he restored Sarah his wife to him. And Abimelech said, See, my land is before you, dwell where it pleases you. Then to Sarah he said, Behold, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Indeed, this vindicates you before all who are with you, and before everybody. Thus she was rebuked. So Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female servants. Then they bore children, for the Lord has closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Chapter
Look at
20.
that. Very good.
Thank you.
Sheesh. I was getting deja vu.
What's going on? He's doing this again. He's doing this sheesh again.
All right. So the last chapter, we kind of glanced over it, but after the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham stepped outside his door and was like, wow, look at all that burning city. God really followed through. Yeah, so like Abraham's like saw it. Then Abraham decides, let's pack up and leave. So where he was chilling, where God told him to chill, remember? He's like, go to the land of Canaan. We're gonna set you up there. That's gonna be your land. You're good. Hang out. And he sat there for a little bit. Saw God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, and he's like, all right, cool. That all-powerful God. I know he said to stay here, but I'm just going to get up and leave. So he left. So they went, journeyed from there to south and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur and stayed in Gerar. So they went to Gerar. Now he's having Sarah say that she is his sister again. Because remember, the first time it worked out flawless. The first time, Abraham and Lot got like a bunch of goats and animals and then, money when they left.
But they didn't have to do that.
Yeah, it would have been fine because the Lord promised, like, I got you. Like, you're protected. But no, Abraham still got his own plans. Yeah, I'm going to go find a new place. Lord, I know you said this is going to be mine, but I'm going to go find a new place for now. And
he's old as hell. He's still playing.
Oh, yeah, they are old, aren't they? Yeah, so they show up here, and, yeah, he still has Sarah pretending to be his sister. And the king of Gerar took Sarah. What does Sarah look like?
This must be...
She must be the baddest 99-year-old I ever seen. Because this isn't just like some dude. This is Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took for Sarah. He sent his boys out to get Sarah. She was that good looking. So
Gilf.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how long Abraham lives. We didn't get that far, but he may have been one of the people that lives like 300. So like
I think they were. Yeah, they.
So their aging might have been slowed.
Yeah, because these people were living for hundreds of years, so it must be like probably in her 40s right now.
Yeah, she's middle aged. Yeah, she's not quite. She's MILF. She's MILF. Yeah. So Sarah.
That'll be the name of this episode. MILFs.
Brutal.
Sorry.
Anyway, Abimelech takes Sarah, the MILF, and that night, Abimelech gets a nice dream, but it wasn't the dream he was hoping of. This is God knocking on the door. And God shows up. He said, indeed, you're a dead man.
I know.
Nightmare, no dream. Because of the woman you have taken, for she is a man's wife. Abimelech's like, no, Lord, I didn't know. He said she was his sister, and then he's like, she's my brother. Well, yeah. And then, Lord, will you slay a righteous nation also, he asked. Did he not say to me, she is my sister, and she even herself said, he is my brother? In the integrity of my heart and innocence of my hands, I have done this. So he's like, look, I innocently took this woman as my wife. Innocently took this woman. But God said, yes, I know what you did is in this integrity of your heart. Yeah, so God knows his character. For I also withheld you from sinning against me. Therefore, I did not let you touch her. So, I think this is kind of interesting, right? There's a few talking points in that verse 6. One, God knew Abimelech's heart, that he was doing this with integrity. He didn't know that was a man's wife. But God withheld him from sinning against God by not letting him touch her. So what that means is, even though she was physically Abraham's wife, it still would have been a sin on Abimelech's part if he did touch her, not knowing that she was married. Mm-hmm. So does that make sense? He could have sinned and not known.
Yeah, it still would have been. Just because he didn't know doesn't mean that
It's not sin,
it wouldn't have been a sin, yeah.
which I think is crazy. That's
Hmm.
awesome. And I mean, I wouldn't say awesome, but it's like whoa. I didn't think someone else could set you up to sin. It's like, haha, gotcha. You
So,
slept with my wife.
ignorance is not bliss. You still go to hell for it.
Yeah, because I bet,
That's
yeah.
just,
But no, God was looking out for him. So the grace of God right there is shown, right? I wasn't gonna let you
Mhm.
sin against me unknowingly, because
which is good.
I'm still a just God, right?
Mhm.
He also says, therefore I did not let you touch her. So did God intercede in Abimelech's free will?
No,
The answer has to be no,
I
because we
don't
know
think.
God
Yeah.
to allow us free will because he loves us. So he didn't intercede into Abimelech's free will. However, just like God, uh, you know, made an asteroid come down on Sodom at the exact right time. Uh, you know,
There was just
he,
something that prevented
yeah,
them from.
Abimelech might have been coming up behind Sarah in the hallway, but then all of a sudden,
She
a drawer
farted.
was sticking out farther than he thought, and he bumped it, and the vase fell, and it totally killed the mood. So now
Or
Sarah
she
had
farted. Okay.
exactly God stimulated a GI tract issue in Sarah, and the smell was horrendous. So like, there's some things God can do that's not interceding free will. He's just making it inconvenient. So like, he knows the character of everybody, so it's gonna be yeah, he's doing his thing.
He did a good thing.
Like what's the
Say the
movie
least.
with Jim Carrey where he's God?
We watched that like a couple months ago. What was
Yeah,
that?
I forget what it's called. They're such corny movies. I like
They were good.
yeah, I like the Michael Scott one better. What's his name?
Yeah, that one was funny. I forget.
Yeah, or he's Noah.
Three of those.
Yeah, they're not that good, but they're good. But yeah, basically that, right? Where he's got the power to like pull the moon closer to set a romantic moment, right?
Mhm.
So he's kind of influencing the situation, but he's not forcing his girl to sleep with him, but he's making it real easy for it to happen. So
Mhm.
it's something along those lines. God doesn't tell
Yeah.
us how he did it because it's not important. So after that, it says, now therefore, restore the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you shall live. But if you do not restore her, know that you shall surely die, you and all who are yours. So God tells him this in the dream. It's like, you can still sleep with her, but it'll cost you.
Now you know.
Is it
I'm
worth
leaning
it?
into a microphone that's not there.
I know. Don't even remind me of the microphone problems. Yeah, he tells him like, look, you can, because this is how we know free will is a thing, right? Someone will say, like, look right here, God said he's not going to let you touch her, so it's like interceding. So it's not, you don't have free will because God could just control you. It's like, no, did you read the next verse, bro? Because God's giving the man the option to, you can sleep with the woman and die, or you can just make things right, give the lovely lady back, and everyone's gonna be hunky dory. Because if
Yeah.
you give her back, Abraham's a prophet, he's a godly man, he'll pray for you, and it'll be good. So I think the important part here is, when God tells him this, he's telling them that Abraham will pray for you and you shall live. So Abimelech's life is in Abraham's hands still, right? Because if he gives back Sarah and Abraham doesn't pray for him, it's kind of up there.
Pretty well.
He will,
Because
right?
God
Because
just
God
said that
said he
he
will,
would.
so he's gonna. But this is still from Abimelech's perspective.
Yeah.
So Abimelech rose early in the morning, called all his servants, and told them all the things he was hearing, and the men were very much afraid. They're like, God said we're all gonna die if you sleep with Sarah. But are you still thinking about it? You're not, are you? So that's I think that kind of tells you something about what his friends think of him. It's like It's like, oh, phew, that was a close one. Good thing you're going to give her back, right? And Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, so he's being straight off the bat. He was like, why would you do this to us? Did I offend you or something? You brought this on me and my kingdom. You're going to make us all sit in great sin. You have done deeds to me that ought to not be done, is what he said. That's kind of heavy. And then Abimelech said to Abraham, what did you have in view that you have done these things right? Or that you have done this thing?
Abraham he's such a little snarky little thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm rereading this.
Yeah, Abimelech's like, so what were you thinking to, like, why would you do this? Why would you do this? What were you thinking? Like,
and Abraham's like, well, you guys don't have the fear of God here, so I thought I'd bring it. Like, what?
Literally.
Come on, yo.
Because I thought surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will kill me on account of my wife. He's like, yeah, you guys are godly people. You're not scared of the Lord. That is pretty fun. I didn't think about that. Like, yeah, I'm going to put the fear of God in these people. God's on my side. I'm the chosen one. Pulling a whole Harry Potter, like, I'm the chosen one.
Literally.
But indeed, she is truly my sister. And this is what caught me. I'm like, bro, what a cop. He's like, but indeed, she is my sister. She's the daughter of my father, you know. She's my sister in Christ, you know, technically.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, so she is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. Or did they have the same father? I don't think so. I don't remember the genealogy.
They could have.
It's very well possible that they could have been. They could have been.
Brother, sister.
I don't remember though.
What was the name of our last episode? Or was it
The Salty Wife or something?
No, 2 episodes ago. Grandpa, Dad. No, whatever.
I don't remember.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, Salty Wife and Grandpa. That was the last one. That was Lot's kids.
Okay.
There was another like stupid title. I don't remember. Anyway, it's getting late. Yeah, so he's saying like she's, you know, my sister because we're all children of God, or
they literally have the same dad.
Yeah, or they have the same dad, you know. So like again, another like cop out response. And then she became my wife. And it came to pass when God caused me to wander from my father's house that I said to her, this is your kindness that you should do for me. In every place, wherever we go, say of me, he is my brother. So, it seems here that he's blaming God to an extent.
It seems like he is... To me, it feels like he's trying to, like, play God a little bit, bringing the fear of God everywhere he goes, and he has the power to do it.
Because God promised him he's going to be, you know, the father of many nations, and he still doesn't have the kid that's promised, so he knows God's protecting him. He's being a little cocky with the grace here. Because, like, it's even how he's talking to the king that just took his wife. And the king's like, why'd you do this to me, man? He's like, because I thought it'd be funny.
That's what I'm saying. He's riding a wave.
He says, and it came to pass when God caused me to wander from my father's house that I said to her, this is your kindness that you should do for me in every place wherever we go. Say he is my brother. So he's saying that, like, since God's making us wander around, she's doing me a favor saying this to, like, so I don't get killed. Yeah, so you don't just kill me to take my wife. So after, like, Abraham's list of crappy excuses, it's like, yeah, he didn't just give one reason. Did you notice? It's like, yeah, you guys didn't have the fear of God here, so I forgot to put it here. And then, yeah, technically she is my sister. And then really, you know, she's doing it as a favor. It's like he's just excuse. whatever. So then Abimelech took sheep, oxen, male and female servants, and gave them to Abraham, and he restored Sarah, his wife, to him. So after this, like, Abimelech didn't even say anything. He was just like, whatever, dude.
Get out of here,
Just
man.
take your crap. Here's some oxen and sheep. And the male and female servants. Oh, I guess he took maybe Abraham's servants when they showed up too. I don't know. But
He
yeah,
offered
and
some land to him.
yeah, 15 it says, and Abimelech said, "See, my land is before you. Dwell where it pleases you." And then Sarah, he said, "Behold, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Indeed, this vindicates you before all who are with you and before everybody." Thus she was rebuked. So all God asked Abimelech to do was like give back Sarah, but Abimelech gives sheep, oxen, servants, land, silver. I think Abimelech's still scared because like
He
God's
says,
like,
take some land.
because I think in Abimelech's head he's
Everything.
like, yeah, I know God said like once I give his wife back, he'll pray for me, it'll be fine, but I think he's hedging his bet that Abraham will pray for this guy. Like Abraham will be like, yeah, I guess I was screwing with him, and then he like, so Abimelech's giving him all this like good grace, just like here's this and then this and then this. He's just compounding the grace onto it. So like hopefully Abraham will pray for him and not everyone will die.
Mm.
So I think that's what he's doing, just like really going overboard, hedging the bet on that. But that last section there, thus she was rebuked. What does that mean to you? So like the king gave her back and then all this stuff, and then he said to her, "Behold, I've given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Indeed, this vindicates you before all who are with you and before everybody." Thus she was rebuked. Like rebuked means to be like disgustingly pushed out, I think. Like
what is it? Says it means to reprove by exposing sin or fault. What's reprove mean?
for proved.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
To restrain by expression of disapprobation. To reprehend sharply.
Yeah, so I think he's kind of just like, take all this stuff and get out of here.
Yeah.
But he said, indeed, this vindicates you. Vindicates.
Because, yeah, he was. Sorry.
Yeah, vindicate means to like. I just looked up real quick. Clear someone of blame or suspicion. To prove right or justify.
He was like, I gave your brother all this silver.
So this vindicates you before all who are with you and before everybody. So
now get out.
Yeah, basically. So it's like, this serves your purpose. Get out of here. I don't know what you're doing here. So Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and female servants. That I don't get. He didn't say he made anyone sick, did he?
What?
It said he healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female servants.
Maybe from like what just happened is what I can assume.
From the trauma?
Yeah. Like what he just put everybody through.
I don't know. Or maybe God did.
Because then it goes in.
Oh, you know what? Maybe that's how God stopped Abimelech from touching her.
Well, because then it goes in to say, then they bore children, for the Lord had closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe.
Maybe.
Well, maybe when this all happened, the Lord like stopped anyone from having kids. Yeah, because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female servants. Then they bore children, for the Lord had closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Okay. That kind of makes sense to me. Like Abraham and Sarah had that covenant with God that they're going to be the father of many nations. Mm-hmm. And their next kid, Isaac, the one that laughs, is going to, be that heir, but it has to happen between Abraham and Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
So when the Lord saw that Sarah got scooped up by this king, the Lord was probably just like, snip, snap, snip, snap, snip. No one can have kids. Not in the cards.
Oh
Sealed up the
dang,
wombs.
yo.
Yeah, so I think that may
Yeah,
have,
that makes sense.
yeah, and Abraham, or, and God healed Abimelech's wife and his female servants. Healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female servants. If they were all female, I would have been like, okay, maybe God made them all have their period on the same day, made all the cycles line up to where they couldn't get pregnant. But Abimelech's in that list too. So maybe they just all got sick. They just got whatever
Yeah.
I had the past couple of days, What'd you say I
Man
had?
cold.
I got a man cold.
Man cold.
If that's what they
Yes.
call dying, that's what I had.
Mm.
I was suffocating myself.
Mm-hmm. It
Anyway,
was awful. Sorry.
yes.
Anyway.
So I think we kind of covered it pretty good. What are some lessons we can learn, Elizabeth?
I think, well, I mean, I'm kind of curious to see the next chapter because
This
what
is
I
like a
learned, I'm
little,
just gonna say what I like from this chapter is Abraham's just like kind of snarkiness.
a little
And
sassy.
they're finally getting um what like their end of the covenant where Sarah's finally gonna have a baby, even though she's old as dirt and has been barren this whole time. I think they finally have waited long enough and trusted in God like they were supposed to.
Did they?
Finally being answered.
I think they just hung around long enough and God got them through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says, then they bore children. Yeah, so I think that it encompasses Sarah. So I think the next chapter we'll probably see Isaac. This is exciting. Baby boy.
Yeah. Cheating a little bit. I can see the beginning of it of chapter 21.
Okay, anyway.
Spoiler alert.
No spoilers,
Okay.
no spoilers.
Eh.
Okay. So yeah, I think the lesson here is, what, this sucks because there's the lesson I feel like is supposed to be like, don't take advantage of God's grace, because
But that's literally what they were doing.
Abraham was just doing that, and it worked out exceedingly well for him. He's being he showed up there. He's like, yeah, this is my sister, and God came in and saved the day. It's like, one, he's like lying blatantly, which you're not supposed to do, is sin. This isn't the first time he did it, so he's just like repeat offender, double sin. Didn't repent. God had to come in and save him, and as God's saving him, he's being sassy with the grace. He's like, yeah, you guys don't know God's wrath, so I figured I'd show you real quick.
Yeah, dopey.
And guess what? He got sheep, oxen, servants, land, 1,000 pieces of silver, and his wife's pregnant.
He won.
Praise the Lord!
Dub.
You got to be kidding me. This guy's getting all the bones. What?
You try to climb a wall once and your foot's broken forever. Like,
I know. I try to scale one wall and I'm down and out. Inside jokes. Yeah.
Good.
So I mean, the lesson's there. I'm sure we're gonna see in future chapters that it doesn't quite work out hunky dory.
Yeah, no. I'm sure we will.
I'm sure
we'll probably see it next chapter.
I'm sure all these
honestly.
riches will backfire on him somehow. We'll have to learn a lesson of greed. But what can we actually draw? Because I feel like the chapters have to give you something. That's why they're broken up. It's canonized. It was all done in the name of the Lord, so it has to be succinct. Probably
I feel like
not,
it might lead into something because, like, we see that something that shouldn't have worked very well. So it probably will come back and bite him in the butt. I feel like we might see that.
I'm not gonna lie. I'd probably do the same thing. Let's see, my boy Jesus, he's got me. Like we're gonna just. He promised me, like I'm not gonna. I gotta have a kid before I can die. We're good. Like when you have favor with the Lord. I could see that get into your head. Key is to not let that happen. Suppress your pride. Oh, that's an interesting topic. Are you allowed to be prideful of your God? The God?
It would be a good thing to look into.
My Holy Spirit tells me yes. I think you're allowed to be proud of your God, but you're not allowed to boast with that pride. I think it said somewhere, maybe in the New Testament, you should never boast. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's getting nitty gritty. What are we coming up on? 55 minutes? That wasn't bad. Whole summary. Good job, Elizabeth. You stuck it out.
Thanks, Joseph.
Hour and a half of mic trouble, and here we are.
Hey,
if anyone's listening out there, if you got mic recommendations, the Audio Technica ATX2100 is not working with Elizabeth Lab.
For an HPZ book.
She got an HPZ book, G9, i7 core processor, generation 11 or something.
i7.
Yeah.
Frickin' A.
Drop it down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.
And then unsubscribe, and then resubscribe.
Yeah, just seeing the notifications just pounds us with dopamine. So
the only thing I'll get going for tomorrow.
Keep stringing us along, folks. All right, that's it. Holy moly.
All right, bye. Holy moly.